What's good, GFFL, on this week 5? Coming back to you with another episode. I got Any Given Sunday. Matt, how are you doing this weekend? Don't even. We all know you're doing terrible, but
Yep.
well, actually, it's not the weekend. It is
No, not anymore. Special edition of 4th and 20,
special
live on
edition.
Monday night.
Yeah, so we're just we're keeping it tight, changing it up on you guys.
We got a game tomorrow, so that's why we had to back it up
right.
a night ago.
I'm moving into a new place, and who knows what Matt was doing Sunday. So I still cannot confirm or deny what was going on that last night. So, but glad to be on here with you again, man, and talk some fantasy football and see where this takes us.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week in football and fantasy.
Yeah, but first we have to we got a sponsor back. I got some positive news last week, as did you. We got here we go. Becker's Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're back.
100% positive feedback. So
100%. You know you're going to get great shipping. You know you're going to get great prices, and you know you're going to get
customer support.
You're going to customer support, anything 24/7. He mans the phones at that company. It's really great, Mr. Becker. So, we're really pumping him up this week. We got a really nice email, or not email, but a text asking for my address, and he said he's sending us some stuff. So I'm pretty pumped, actually.
I think it's a Bam Bam Morris card.
Never did I think that doing this show with you would actually have any kinds of perks to it, but it seems like it is. So, but hopefully he doesn't send us like a sealed envelope of dog crap or something like that.
I asked if I should be scared, and he said no.
So. Well, Bob's a good dude, so I think we'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Not so Tim.
Yeah, if it were Tim, I would never give him my address. Especially, we got to go over this every week, but the PayPal still broke.
Yeah.
Broke.
He actually said that he tried to log in using promo code "Fuck You Hoover," and the link was broken.
Yeah. All right. So this week's waiver wire pickups. So we had a couple interesting ones. We'll start off with, I'm not sure if I'm going to say his name right, but Dearnest Johnson.
We'll call him D. Johnson.
D. Johnson. Big swinging Johnson. He went for $52 this week. Matt, were you surprised?
I actually wasn't, because I put in a pretty hefty waiver bid myself. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was over $40 though. So my thought process there was, with Chubb's injury, you don't really know how long it is. Cleveland's winning formula seems to be get the ball in the running back's hand in some way, shape, or form. I think he had over close to 100 yards in week 4 when Chubb went out injured. So I thought, maybe any back will do well in that system. And if Chubb's out some time and Kareem Hunt's now number 1, they may want to use him in the same capacity and kind of flex those two guys, which normally I'm not a fan of a shared backfield, but with the injuries around the league this year to the running back position and what Cleveland has done with their running backs, and the fact that I don't have a fucking anyone on my squad. I mean, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in love with a guy, go get him.
Yeah, I mean, and there was 6 other guys, other than Steve-O, so 7 that were, going after him. Steve-O got lucky enough to take him over Lance, the Yinzers, by $2. And then, there's another, slew of other guys that tried to pick him up. It might be interesting. Spoiler alert, their game is one of our games of the week. We got 2 this week. But I think once we pull it up here, it'll be interesting to look at Johnson's numbers and, what could have been maybe wonder if Lance would have played him this week or not and how that might have played out in their matchup.
Yeah.
So then we'll go to our next waiver wire pickup, and that is Tim Patrick for $21, the big winner. Are you happy with that?
I am. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I think injuries on their squad. I'm looking for guys. Obviously I got him, so I wanted him. So I'll let you kind of give your input. Was that a good move, bad move, or otherwise?
I mean, to be honest with you, this past week has been a blur for me. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to that kind of stuff. That's the way you and I were talking about before about Johnson, and I was like, wow, are you surprised that he went for that much? And then I looked on the total bids, and I'm like, well, I guess I must have missed something. But I think with just all this moving, I kind of wasn't really probably plugged in like I should have been. But I mean, like, he's getting a good amount of targets, and in this league, it's hard to make waiver wire pickups that are,
Guaranteed
help to your team. And I think that he can be.
You're taking a trot no matter what, because every team is so low. You got so much depth with 12 guys and the amount of guys you got on the squad. It's really hard to find that diamond in the rough.
Right. Super hard.
And I was going after guys early and not bidding enough. Kind of being too conservative with my spending. Still trying to figure that out a little bit, I guess. So I'm like, man, if I'm gonna make a change on my squad, I got to try to find somebody that, even if he doesn't help me this year, could end the season on a high note and maybe give me something next year.
Yeah. So I mean, just kind of looking at it, like I said, I haven't really paid much attention to him throughout the season, and but he's getting at least 5 targets a game. So if that's something that you're picking up and you need that week, that's kind of nice to know that you have the potential for at least 5 targets. And I don't think it's a bad one. That's always my thing. I want a guy that's going to get his share of the targets. I've always kind of stayed away from guys that are short on targets, but they're usually boom or bust. I don't like that. I hate having to deal with that week in and week out. But sometimes you have to do what you got to do. But I think it's a good pickup. So let's go to. This was just something that you and I agreed on. We don't always hit on every waiver wire pickup, but one thing that's nice about Bob being the league manager, he's always really active. So we talked about him picking up the Cowboys for $9. $9 in the scheme of things, I forget what we start out with, but isn't a whole lot. But I mean, I just don't see spending the money. I'm wondering what his thought process was on like needing to spend money on getting them. I wouldn't have thought that in my mind, if I wanted to get them, I wouldn't have put money on them because I don't think their defense is good. But I mean, I think that I'm curious what his.
I'm sure he'll answer us in the thread after the game because, like you said, he's pretty active. Speaking of the thread, could you throw the link up to this for the live in the thread? Some of the guys are asking.
Yeah, sure.
The only thing that I thought of kind of after we talked about it was maybe he was thinking looking into that match, they're playing the Giants who have struggled. And Bob, we talked about how Rich had kind of in a shitty spot up to this point with a good team and a 1-3 record. So he was going into a tough matchup this week anyway. So maybe he was trying to, thinking he could steal some points with a pickup even for 1 week. I think we start out 150, so $9 to win 1 week. That's the only thing I'm really thinking. But on my initial reaction, I was 100% with you, Hoove. I didn't really see it when I thought he probably could have just waited and picked him up in free agency.
Yeah. Whitus just said if Frank needs a link, that means he isn't subscribed. You should ban him. I'm going to ask Whitus if he could share the link in the group chat. For some reason, I'm having a hard time getting it up for some reason.
All right.
So Whitus, if you could share that in the chat, that would be awesome. All right. So we talked about Dallas. Let's see here. What do we got next? Oh, I just wanted to hit on Steve-O. He came out last week, and he really talked a lot of smack, which is normal for him. Called us all jabronis, which is very normal. So it's good to see that there's not anything wrong with him personally or mentally or anything like that. Thanks, Whitus, for putting that in there. But he definitely sold out this week. He spent a lot of money. He picked up a couple guys. I want to say that he played them in his lineup this week too. So with Lance, Steve-O's he's desperate. I mean, that's a big game. 2 1-3 teams, and Lance will have to let me know. But I know Steve-O and I and Lance for the longest time were the only guys that had made the playoffs every year since the inception of the keeper. So I'd love to know if Lance has made the playoffs every year or not. I can't remember if he made it last year, but that's huge. This is a huge game for those guys, and year in and year out, they're always in the playoffs. So you starting that 1-4 hole, man, that's gonna be a tough one to come out of.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay. So next up, we had a big trade.
Yeah, we had a trade this week.
Between Rich and Half Baked. Taco's Truck and Half Baked. So we had DeAndre Swift and a 3rd round pick for Melvin Gordon. I think this is a good example of our league. Obviously, if it were a regular league, probably that's not a very good trade, in my opinion. And I still am not sure if I like that trade that much. I'm just not going to be as hard on it because I can see what Rich is doing. And you always persuade me, like, before we get on these shows, and I'm always like, man, I don't know, I didn't like that at all. And then you give me some good reasoning. I always change my mind. So
I try to look at it from both guys' sides. Like, and I'm with you. Like I told you before, like, I'm with you 100%. If we were in a standard redraft league, I don't like that trade at all. And I don't think Rich makes that trade.
Yeah.
But what I could see, Rich may be thinking in getting Swift is, even if it's not for this year, Peterson's not getting any younger, although he's kind of defying the physics of how long you can be a running back in the NFL. But Melvin Gordon having Phillip Lindsay get healthy too, that could go to more of a timeshare. So I don't know. I don't think I'm in love with the trade one way or the other. I don't really know who ends up benefiting from that long term. I think the other factor that could play in is Swift could end up being just a bust. Overall, you don't really know sometimes with rookie running backs. They come into the league kind of hot, but sometimes some of them just fall off the radar after their rookie season. You see a lot of guys come in, and then the next year that same team's drafting another rookie running back. So yeah, it's yet to be seen, I guess, how that pans out.
Yeah, I definitely need to see it played out. Looking at it, if I were Rich and had Gordon, and looking at Rich's situation, I probably would have been more prone to keep him. But Rich is trying to make moves and look towards the future, so I can understand that too. All right, so contender pretender. We're gonna give a shout out to our executive producer Whitus, who gave us the idea for this. So obviously, anything good from this show, we cannot take credit for.
So this is a first good idea that there's been, and it's not been ours. So
right. So I'm gonna be the bigger person as always when it comes to Tim, which isn't very hard. I think at the beginning of the year, the first couple weeks, and I don't know if you and I talked about it, Matt, or not, but I just remember looking at his team and just being like, nah, not a big fan. He's got Wilson and Jacobs, and those are 2 great players. But after that, I didn't feel very strongly about some of the guys he had behind him. And, this week the Steelers D kind of gave him, a shot in the arm and stuff, but he still put up 130 again. And he gets a big win against, Uncle Rico's team, and Uncle Rico's team's pretty good, and even if, he's still looking at putting up 111, Tim puts up 130 again. And just kind of scrolling through his roster, he's down Eckler, so hopefully he comes back. The only thing about that is you worry about that being a big timeshare with Eckler, Kelly and Jackson. It looks like Jackson's back now. So, I
Yeah.
mean, Jamison Crowder, he's been playing really good. He's had over 100 yards in every game he's played in. So I mean, Tim's team's looking pretty solid, and plus he's got John Brown. You know, he didn't start John Brown this past week, and I kind of like him, and same thing with Edelman. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he put up that many points this week, and Juju had 3.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think anyone in any fantasy league probably really started Chase Claypool this year or this week. Obviously, monster game, he blew up. And if he can continue to play he's going to demand more respect from secondaries in the NFL, which in my mind actually makes Juju's value go up a little bit as well, because now, you can't, you don't, Juju's obviously still their number one, but if you have to respect him, and I had I guess the benefit of being at that game, man, his breaks on routes, like, he's not the fastest guy on the field, but he just comes out of his routes so clean. He creates separation so well. It almost looked like he was always open on the field. Now, granted, Philadelphia's secondary is not that great, but I think that opens up a lot of weapons for, I think that opens Juju's game up a little bit. I really do. So that's another receiver in Tim's arsenal that, other than his week 1 where I think he had 2 touchdowns, hasn't done a lot, but I think he could be good going forward.
Yeah. So I kind of flip-flopped on him, and I think, his team's looking pretty good. Not only they're playing good, but, his roster looks better to me too.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a guy, and obviously there's a couple other guys in here that you can look at and just know that, you look at their squad and they have a really, really good team. But I want to talk about the commish, Mr. Becker, and his squad, and he's really had a rough go at it this year with injuries. And now, to be looking like 4-1 unless something absolutely crazy happens. But he's looking like he's going to take an L to Rich this week and be 4-1. But he does find some sneaky ways to put up points, and he has some depth on his team. He's made some right decisions, with getting Mike Davis to fill in for CMC. So I think the value when CMC comes back is obviously better than what he's getting even from Mike Davis. I like some of his wide receivers. He does a really good job of managing this team, in my eyes at least, too, and seeming to get the most points out of the guys, not leaving a lot of points on his bench. Tonyan in Green Bay, absolute monster start last week, monster game. So with their depleted wideout, he could be a factor the rest of the year. He's had another unfortunate injury this week with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that's huge.
So it's huge in the NFL world, but I view Dak as probably a top 5 quarterback, probably in that 4 or 5 spot for fantasy goes. And I don't think there's as bad of a fall off when he's going down and his backup is Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously you feel better about Dak most weeks, but I don't think he's taking a huge loss there. Obviously Pittsburgh's probably going to have some tough divisional games that may be a little bit of a challenge for Becker in getting points out of his quarterback. But I've just been impressed with what he's been able to do managing that team. I think he's going to take a couple tough losses, but if he gets healthy at the right time, I think he's an interesting team this year.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here what we had next. So we had injuries. So kind of to piggyback off of that, with Dak, and then another big injury, Dalvin Cook. I'm pretty sure I'm going against him this week. Let's double check. Yeah, I am. So he's on Mokel's team. Mokel's sitting at 2-2, going to probably go to 2-3. So I mean, like, that's kind of big. I don't know if he has Madison on his bench or not, but I mean, that's a huge one. I mean, that guy's been.
I don't think he does. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think he does.
Yeah, he doesn't. So but he's got a lot of decent backs on his roster.
He does.
But anyway, so that was just another big fantasy implicating injury this week, which seems to be a weekly basis. And who knows, maybe you want to take your lumps early like Bob and then be able to have your guys back for that stretch run. I don't know. It's seeming like every week there's like major players going down. And
I mean, I don't know who has Zeke, but he's been about the only major back to not go down this week.
Right.
Or this year. And Derrick Henry. Don't want to jinx him, though.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I've been trying to pay attention to what we're talking about, but this game's on, and it's really has some huge implications for some of the games of the week that we have right now.
Yeah, that 1-inch touchdown miss was.
Oh my gosh, isn't that sickening?
Dude, that was huge for one of the games we're going to talk about for this week.
So we're going to move it into game of the week. I should have changed it to games of the week. We've got two big games going on right now. First one we'll talk about is New Day Co-op and Half Baked. So right now, New Day Co-op's up 102-93, and that was a huge overturn for a touchdown with Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep.
Right now it would be 99-102, which makes that a little bit easier of a, to overcome that, and especially with the Saints still down 10 here early in the third. But man, that's massive. That was a massive play. So that as far as like this game goes, both guys are 2-2. They're both in the same division, and whoever wins here will be tied for the lead in the division. So this is a big game, and it's coming down to the wire here.
Yeah, Half Baked right now. He's got Emmanuel and the Saints D in the game, and I think for him the only way he wins this game is a touchdown from either defensive touchdown or an Emmanuel Sanders touchdown. I really don't see it going any. I don't see Emmanuel Sanders getting him enough yards without a touchdown, or the defense doing enough, interception, fumble recovery, sacks, what have you, making up that ground. So I think he needs a touchdown here to pull that one out.
Right. And then the other game that we got going on is the Yinzers and the Flatliners, and I talked about it a little bit earlier and how they're both 1-3, and they
don't want to be 1-4.
They don't want to be 1-4, man. That is true. Definitely not 1-4. You hear me?
Yeah.
So, but there's some pretty big things going on with this game. Trying to pull up their score real quick so we can look at it. 101-105. That Drew Brees touchdown where he rushed it in was massive because Lance has Murray and he has Traquan Smith. So those two block plays with those guys in his lineup, it didn't pay off because Drew Brees still took the his share of the points on that. So now Lance is kind of trying to play from behind, and I think the more that the game gets deeper into this, they're going to have Kamara out there, not necessarily Murray, because they're going to be passing a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he almost needs Murray to have a rushing touchdown for this to play out in his favor. Because otherwise, I think Drew's throwing the ball for a touchdown, and even if he throws it to Murray, unless it's a bomb where somebody's getting Traquan's getting 8 points for an 80-yarder and Breeze is only getting a couple points plus his 6, he's not going to close that gap enough unless he gets Lamar Murray to run one in.
And it looks like those waiver wire ads, we were talking about Johnson because Lance and Steve-O were going after him. Right now, Murray has 3 points. And I would assume that Lance would have played Johnson over Murray because he's not going to play him over Carson. So Steve-O on his bench has McKissick, who he also picked him up, I believe. And he has 4.9. So right now it's not looking like it's making a major impact. But, that's to be seen. So it's definitely going to be interesting. It's kind of cool to see this Monday night game impacting two games with some pretty big importance in both of them.
Yeah.
All right. So that kind of gets us to the end of what we had on the slate. We're at 25 minutes again. We seem to be that 20 to 30 minute range.
That's our sweet spot.
Yeah. So let's give a huge shout out to our fanboy, Mr. Whitus, for hopping on again. We appreciate it. And then also too, it's cool when you guys get on here and talk about, whether you're saying how awful we are, which is pretty much just Tim, or you guys get on here defending what you're doing and stuff. It's pretty cool to see you guys react to the videos and stuff. So I know I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch them, even though they're a little bit longer. But Matt and I enjoy doing it, so we'll probably keep doing it even if no one's watching. As long as Whitus keeps showing up, I definitely will keep doing it.
Yeah, we'll do it for Whitus.
Do it for the fan base.
Yeah, and we got to keep that sponsorship, so we got to at least have somebody on.
Yeah, I know. We got to keep getting our free stuff. All right.
Yeah, no, there's going to be no bet this week.
No bet.
Hoove and I both talked about it. We don't really love tomorrow's game with all the COVID shit that's happened. It just, it's hard to predict what's going to happen in that game. You got two undefeated teams going each other. So I'm staying away from it personally. I say that now, but then tomorrow night I'll get on and be like, oh, the odds boost. I'm taking that.
Odds boost. But none of the touchdown scores I was looking at that I like betting, the payouts aren't very good. So I'm kind of skipping that, at least as far as advice goes. So, all right, well, until next week, my man. Maybe Sunday, maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday. Who knows?
We don't know.
Keep you on your toes. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later.
Peace.